Guys, there are so many weapons that are going to be coming to us in Renegades. However, today, I wanted to cover my time with a certain weapon type during our gameplay capture event at Bungie earlier this month. And that is for the brand new heat weapons. Now, there are a ton of these that you're going to be able to earn from the new destination and activities, but also from the brand new Equilibrium dungeon. Now, I do want to also mention that these are not the only weapons that are coming. There are more traditional weapons that are being added, but the heat weapons themselves are worth taking a look at, guys. They've got that Star Wars flavor. They feel really good to shoot. And throughout this entire overview, we're also going to have a spreadsheet in the description below for your convenience if you ever want to come back and see what archetype a weapon is and the perks that it can roll with. This is something that we're going to continue to update if anything changes or if there's anything we may have missed. Now, for those that are not familiar with what weapons we're talking about, this new weapon type, heat weapons, are essentially blasters from like these Star Wars Battlefront games. Shooting will generate heat. You'll then need to vent the weapon of that heat, which essentially serves as the reload function. And it's interesting because these weapons can actually overheat. And there's even a sweet spot where you want to heat it up just enough to get to that perfect vent. These weapons are also going to have some new stats. Heat generated is for how much heat gets generated per shot, which is denoted by the percentage on the bottom left-hand corner of your HUD. Cooling efficiency will determine how quickly the weapon will cool down when not being fired. And then we also have vent speed, which will be how fast the weapon reduces heat when manually vented or overheated. Now, within the heat weapon family are actually two different types. Number one is dynamic heat, and number two is balance heat. Let's start with dynamic heat. Dynamic heat weapons have higher base damage, but high heat generated. But weapons cool down more rapidly between shots. Then for our balance heat weapons, they have very low heat generated, and manually venting at very high heat greatly increases venting speed. Now, one more thing to note regarding heat weapons is that primary ammo heat weapons will have additional intrinsic effects of dealing bonus damage to powerful combatants, which is very nice considering for quite a while now, the community has been asking for primary weapons to hit harder inside of PvE. Now, before we get into the weapons themselves, there is a number of new perks to talk about that will be showing up on these weapons. And I think we need to do an overview of these perks just so everyone is on board. Let's start with Thermal Atomization. This one reads that while at high heat, this weapon deals increased damage and causes targets to explode when defeated. Essentially, high impact reserves, but for heat weapons. Now, there's a lot going on during the capture event, so I don't have the percentage of this buff off the top of my head, but if it is like high impact reserves, somewhere around 20 to 25%. The difference though is that for thermal atomization, you're actually not able to take advantage of it very long as you'll need to soon vent the weapon. So perhaps that damage buff is substantially more. Next, we have Delicate Tuning. This is another heat-based perk which reads that while at low heat, this weapon has improved range, handling, and accuracy. Now, we don't have the numbers for this, of course, but you can see the parallels between Delicate Tuning and other traits in the game. Almost like Amelon Fluid Dynamics with that bump and stability on the front end. But this takes us to our final heat-based perk. This is Cooling Baubles. This one reads that collecting elemental pickups or an aura power reduces heat. Now, considering the many ways we have to spawn orbs and elemental pickups, I actually see this one being worthwhile. You could be in a situation where literally you never have to be concerned with venting your weapons. You can just run around picking up orbs. Now, those are the heat-related traits. In terms of other new perks though, we have Stopping Power, which reads, this weapon's kinetic ordnance can more easily stagger combatants and grant increased target acquisition and damage against low health targets within an improved range. Now, I also got to see the enhanced benefits of this, which says that it reduces the perk stat penalties. And I personally did use this one a bit. And in terms of the damage against low health targets, it seems to be around a 15% increase in damage as I go from 18 body shot damage against these red bars to 21 once they get to low health. For the next perk, we have All-Star. This one reads that collecting ammo loads this weapon from reserves and it enhances its damage and reload speed for a short duration. Collecting heavy ammo grants more time. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any numbers for this one, but depending on that damage bump, guys, this one might be really, really nice, especially considering we actually have armor sets that can aid in the creation of ammo bricks. Now, we also have two new arc-related perks. The first is Supercharged Magazine, which reads, while amplified, ammo is gradually transferred from reserves to the magazine. While in Speed Booster, ammo generates faster and overflows the magazine, which is such an incredible perk. The other perk is Trickle Charge, which reads that receiving or discharging Bolt Charge partially loads the magazine from reserves. Let me just say both of these are pretty solid. Speed Booster is super easy to get, and as a Titan main, I was rocking Storm's Keep for Bolt Charge pretty often, so an absolute freebie for me. Next, we have a returning perk, Meganeura. You may remember this perk from back in the day on Oxygen SR3, the OG Pinnacle Scout Rifle. This perk has been reworked, and it's no longer tied to Dragonfly. Instead, it now reads that precision final blows creates an elemental damage explosion that deals more damage based on the number of rapid precision hits dealt beforehand. So overall, this seems pretty similar to Dragonfly, except the amount of precision shots now factors into the damage that the explosion does. Now, another explosion-based perk we're getting is Butterfly, which reads that aiming this weapon for a short period without firing causes your target to explode the next time you deal final blows. The timer resets when you stop aiming down sights. Now, the enhanced version here also reduces the time for perk activation. Now, I did spend a little time testing this perk out, and it seems to take about a second of aiming down sights to proc. Getting a kill will then set off an explosion, which at max, I got it to deal about 630 damage against a red bar enemy. Now, I was also interested in seeing if there was any type of subclass synergy with this perk. And testing on the Void Crossbow, it didn't seem to spread anything like volatile or weaken. Now, our final new perk is Adhesive Ordinance, which reads that collecting ammo loads an explosive round that adheres to surfaces, has an improved detonation shortly after impact, and applies exhaust, with the enhanced version saying that it improves perk damage. Now, this one seems pretty interesting. Anything that deals explosive damage is usually pretty good. It says it can stick to surfaces and it can exhaust, which reduces the affected enemy's outgoing damage by 10%. Now, I'm sure some of these perks we just mentioned, you're already starting to build craft a bit, but we need to talk about these origin traits. First is Air-Cooled Core. This can be found on our destination weapons, and this trait reads that sprinting increases vent or reload speed for a short time, while at low heat or full magazine, gain further increased handling and movement speed when aiming down sights. Now, our other new origin trait is going to belong to our dungeon weapons, and it's called Imperial Allegiance. It reads that being near allies grants further increased cooling or charge rates and increases damage while at high heat or low guard energy, with the enhanced version improving perk stack benefits. It definitely seems like it's going to give us some nice benefits by increasing our cooling and giving us free damage while at high heat. Again, not sure what the damage amount is going to be yet, but I'm curious to see how this plays out when we get these weapons when the dungeon drops. Now, moving over to all the new legendary weapons we got to look at. First, we have our destination weapons. Let's start with Uncivil Discourse. This is an arc 180 round per minute dynamic heat hand cannon. In columns 3, it can roll with things like cooling Baubles, quick draw, delicate tuning, air trigger, keep away, lone wolf, and outlaw. Then in columns 4, it can get frenzy, jolting feedback, opening shot, offhand strike, desperate measures, precision instruments, and thermal atomization. Now, I know some people are not that crazy about 180 round per minute hand cannons, but this one's got some pretty interesting combos. From great PvP combos like lone wolf, precision instruments. Again though, I may actually consider for PvP delicate tuning over lone wolf, depending on those stat bumps. For PvE though, I'm actually curious about like a cooling bauble thermal atomization. Like, is there a possibility you can get right up there to where the weapon is just about to overheat, have the max damage from thermal atomization, and then just have cooling baubles that essentially just cools you off just enough without fully overheating the weapon? I don't know, man. It's got me curious. Next, we have the modified B7 pistol, a stasis 180 round per minute dynamic heat hand cannon. In columns 3, we have cooling baubles, rapid hits, keep away, rhyme still, firefly, demolitionist, and delicate tuning. In columns 4, we have headstone, adagio, eye of the storm, opening shot, crystalline corpse bloom, built to blast, and thermal atomization. For this weapon though, you do have your typical combinations like rhyme stiller, headstone, or maybe even rhyme stiller and crystalline corpse bloom. Firefly is also present here though, which is a fantastic combination with headstone, as we've seen on our competitive hand cannon from this past season, Solemn Remembrance. In terms of the combination though that I'm really curious about, thermal atomization and firefly, I just want to see if it scales. Like, what's the damage? How much can we get up to? Is it worth working up to that point? Now next we have all or nothing. This is a strand 540 round per minute dynamic heat pulse rifle. For the perks on this weapon, in columns 3, we have Slice, Zim Moment, Cooling Baubles, Delicate Tuning, Perpetual Motion, Firefly, and Keep Away. In our 4th column, we have Tear, Desperado, Kill Clip, Sword Logic, Headseeker, Hatchling, and Thermal Atomization. Now this one, guys, you've got your typical Strand Synergy, your Slice Hatchling combinations. For PvP, you've got some solid combos as well. Keep Away, Headseeker, Zim Moment's also on this thing. Our next weapon is Compact Defender. This is a Void 360 round per minute dynamic heat sign-off. For perks on this weapon, in columns 3, we have Cooling Baubles, Destabilizing Rounds, Built to Blast, Hipfire Grip, Proximity Power, Rangefinder, and Delicate Tuning. Then in columns 4, we have Desperate Measures, Frenzy, Kill Clip, Swashbuckler, Precision Instrument, Repulsor Brace, and Thermal Atomization. This is a very solid sidearm, guys, that I spent a lot of time with. Felt really good to use. Your tried and true combinations like Destabilizing Rounds and Repulsor is very good. But what I really like about the sidearm is that Destabilizing is in that 3rd column, meaning you're completely open to double stack with damage perks. You want to double up with Frenzy, Kill Clip, or any of the above, you can. And that's very powerful considering just how powerful Destabilizing Rounds is all on its own. Next, we have the M17 Fast Talker. This is a Stasis 900 round per minute balance heat SMG. In columns 3, we have Stats for All, Killing Wind, Cooling Baubles, Attrition Orbs, Dynamic Sway Reduction, Demolitionist, and Delicate Tuning. In columns 4, we have Tap the Trigger, Target Lock, Sword Logic, Master of Arms, Kill Clip, Crystalline Corpse Bloom, and Thermal Atomization. Now this is quite the bullet hose, and for PvP I always found that Dynamic Sway is one of the best perks for dealing with bullet hoses. Lock that in with Target Lock, Sword Logic, or hell, even Master of Arms. Always a great combo. For PvE players though, there's really nothing that crazy that's happening here. No crazy synergies. I guess I would consider maybe like Attrition Orbs or Cooling Baubles with Crystalline Corpse Bloom or any other damage perk. And again, we still have to test Thermal Atomization. Now our final destination weapon is the Refurbished A499, which is not really a heat weapon, but it is a new weapon archetype. This is a kinetic 72 round per minute disruption heavy sniper rifle. Its archetype reads that it fires a single heavy hitting round, disintegrates targets on impact. Now as you can see from the testing on screen, this is a very hard hitting sniper, but you have to reload a single shot at a time. In terms of damage, against a boss here in the testing range, one shot was dealing 1,318 crit damage, and I even compared this to Supremacy, which is a go-to kinetic slot sniper, and that crit damage there against the same boss was only hitting for 299. A big difference, but I would say the biggest competition this sniper rifle will face is actually against heavy crossbows. Now in terms of perks though that are found on the sniper rifle, in columns 3 we have Snapshot, Lone Wolf, Moving Target, No Distractions, Bewildering Burst, Gutshot Straight, and Outlaw. In columns 4 we have Mulligan, Ancillary Ordnance, Box Breathing, Aggregate Charge, Autoloading Holster, Envious Assassin, and Ambitious Assassin. Now let me just say guys, this would actually be a problem if it wasn't a heavy. Like if it was just even a special weapon, I think it could be a monster inside of PvP. And it's got some great combinations to assist with that. But again, PvE is what most people are probably going to be looking at with this weapon, unless Bungie just gives it an overwhelming amount of heavy ammo. And really that only leaves you maybe Bewildering Burst or Outlaw. And I'm probably leaning more towards Outlaw, with the combinations in the final column being either maybe Ancillary Ordinance or Box Breathing. And if you happen to be playing into a bunch of debuffs, you could rock Aggregate Charge. Now, you have your typical perks, whether that be an Ambitious Assassin, Autoloading Holster for run and gun. There's just not a whole lot in that 3rd column that I'm that crazy about for PvE. Like really, I think Bewildering Burst is your only option outside of Outlaw. What I will say with the time I have with the sniper rifle, it does feel a bit sluggish. So you may even want to just consider it as like a run and gun weapon. You pull it out, you shoot a shot, you then swap back to your other weapons. But again, there's really nothing in that 3rd column that assists with that. Will I use this sniper rifle over crossbows? I don't really think I will. Again, we'll see. We'll see what shakes out in the main game. It's just not like earth-shattering damage where I'm like, oh my god, this thing cooks. Now moving on to our dungeon weapons. First, we have Zealous Ideal. This is a solar 450 round per minute balance heat auto rifle. In columns 3, it has Hill Clip, Zim Moments, Gutshot Straights, Delicate Tuning, Cooling Baubles, Attrition Orbs, and Dynamic Sway Reduction. In columns 4, it has Onslaughts, Adagio, One for All, Tap the Trigger, Thermal Atomization, Burning Ambition, and Incandescence. Now I know some of you may not be crazy about seeing another 450 round per minute auto rifle, but this one's got some pretty good rolls, man. Like you can't go wrong with Hill Clip. Grip, Incandescent. Onslaught's on there as well. Attrition Orbs, Burning Ambition is a solid combo. For PvP, you've got Zen, you've got Dynamic Sway. You could double up on consistency and combine it with Tap the Trigger. Really, all 450s need is a small bump. A little teeny tiny bump from Bungie, and they good, baby. They cooking. Next, we have Conspiracy Honed. This is a Stasis 140 round per minute dynamic heat sniper rifle. In Comms 3, it has access to Headstone, Snapshot, Delicate Tuning, Cooling Baubles, Lone Wolf, Vorpal Weapon, and Inline Action. In Comms 4, it has Firefly, Bait and Switch, Box Breathing, Thermal Atomization, Opening Shot, Firing Line, and Moving Targets. An interesting sniper that's really just going to come down to playtime with it, especially inside of PvP for me. Will I consider it over other snipers? Well, Bungie really wants us to consider snipers, considering the ammo changes they keep making to boost sniper rifles inside of PvP, and all the other things like flinch reduction, all the stuff they're doing to make them feel better to use, easier to use. What I'm saying is that opening shot snapshot combo, or even moving target snapshot, could feel really good on the sniper, but really it just comes down to the feel of the weapon itself. And that's something I just didn't get to test. As for PvE though, again, I need to see the combination of thermal atomization and cooling baubles together. You do have Headstone though, and Bait and Switch, and you can even stack up things like Vorpal and Bait and Switch together. Next, we have Sullen Claw. This is a void lightweight sword and the only non-heat weapon from the dungeon. In Columns 3, it has Relentless Strikes, Repulsor Brace, Flash Counter, Proximity Power, Impromptu Ammunition, Eager Edge, and Vorpal Weapon. In Columns 4, it has Destabilizing Rounds, Whirlwind Blade, Assassin's Blade, Bait and Switch, Counterattack, Binary Orbit, and Sword Logic. A pretty good looking sword, but to be quite frank, we're all going to be using lightsabers, so GG's. Next, we have High Tyrant. This is a void 540 round per minute balance heat pulse rifle. In Comms 3, we have Repulsor Brace, Loose Change, Delicate Tuning, Cooling Baubles, Rapid Hit, Destabilizing Rounds, and Demolitionist. Then in Comms 4, it has Master of Arms, Withering Gaze, Thermal Atomization, Demoralize, Meganeura, Headseeker, and Frenzy. I actually want to lean into Meganeura on this one, guys. We haven't seen it much. Bungie brought it back for a reason. Get that Meganeura Destabilizing Round combo. As for PvP, you've got Delicate Tuning, you've got Rapid Hit in combination with Headseeker, but I'm also curious about Meganeura even inside of PvP. I just want to see what happens here. For the rest of our dungeon weapons, we have Bitter End, which is an ARC 900 round per minute balance heat machine gun. You heard that right, 900 rounds per minute. This thing is basically like a legendary sweet business, but in the heavy slot. In Columns 3, it has Cooling Baubles, Eddy Current, Hipfire Grip, Attrition Orbs, Trickle Charge, Delicate Tuning, and Gutshot Straight. Then in Column 4, we have Frenzy, Offhand Strike, Jolting Feedback, Thermal Atomization, One for All, Rolling Storm, and Killing Tally. Now, I actually spent a lot of time with this weapon, guys, and let me just say, it puts out. So much so that we're going to do an individual review of just this weapon and our artifact mod combinations, because man, we were pumping with this gun. Now, lastly, we have Voltaic Shade. This is an ARC 260 round per minute balance heat scout rifle. Now, in Columns 3, this one has Delicate Tuning, Rapid Hit, Keep Away, Cooling Baubles, Shoot to Loot, Trickle Charge, and Jolting Feedback. Then for Column 4, we have Volt Shot, Frenzy, Desperate Measures, Thermal Atomization, Meganeura, Precision Instrument, and Rolling Storm. Very interesting combinations on this one, guys. I'm also just a big fan of 260 round per minute scouts. Look no further than Fang of Your Utes. Hopefully this one is just as good. So guys, those are your heat weapons. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Again, some of these that really stand out, we'll be reviewing those individually. This is more of an overview video for some of the new perks, origin traits, and of course what you have present on all of these weapons inside of Renegades. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.